So yeah, like what's been happening ever since DUS? Obviously that was
Ever since
2022, the last time that we like had something to do with each other. And then 2 years
yeah,
now. It's been a big
yeah,
gap.
yeah, I know. It's been a long time, and I think so much has transpired and happened since then. I think from your end too, probably like just it's so different nowadays. So what am I doing myself at the moment? I am PTing mostly. Like I'd say
Yeah.
majority of my time I'm in the gym with people. I'm based out of two spaces now. So I'm and mostly at training day in Clayton, which I started there in August 2022. So that's awesome. It's been great. And then just like very recently, I've started PTing a bit more locally to me in this new wellness center gym called the
Yeah,
Feel Good
right.
Hood. So
Yeah.
they have, yeah, lots of ice baths and wellness events and things like that. So it feels like, yeah, a really cool step for me upcoming. So yeah, that's where I'm spending most of my time. And then I am got some online clients too that I touch base with quite a lot. Programming, a lot of most of my mindset clients, mindset online clients, I would say, yeah, is mostly mindset stuff because I can be a bit more
Yeah,
in their
right.
grill. It's not just see you once a week and then see you later. It's
Mhm.
a bit more
Holistic.
deep. Yeah, holistic, deep, and just I'm a bit more involved. I mean, with my PT clients, I'm still in their face a bit outside of the gym as well, so they can't really escape me because I'm just very like on their want to be involved in everything. So, yeah,
Yeah, wow. Busy. So technically like three different clientels, like training day, the feel good studio and also online as well. Damn.
yeah,
You
I'd
had your time.
say, yeah. I know 2024 is going to be big and busy, but that's kind of what I wanted, and I wanted to grow and I wanted to expand, get my face in front of more people. So, yeah,
Wow, geez. Let's talk training day because I know you're a big fan of training day, obviously working there, and I go to
mm,
training day as well. How's it like
mm,
down in Clayton? Have you been to Burwood
yeah.
as well, by the way?
I have. I do love
Yeah,
Burwood. I haven't seen you much in Clayton yet, but I'll have to come. We'll have to train together or something.
yeah,
Um, yeah, no, it's really good. Like the vibes of the gym is like something I've never seen before. Like the culture and the community, and
hundred
like even
percent.
the staff. It's just so welcoming,
Yeah,
and like the vibes are just immaculate, as you'd know. So yeah, I mostly work with women clients. I do have a few male clients too. But yeah, we're building a cute little team down there in Clayton, so it's really cool. And yeah, I've been there for nearly 5 or 6 months now. Five,
yeah,
maybe.
nice. Just down in Clayton, nothing to do with Burwood unless you're training on your own.
Yeah, just Clayton. I'm based out of Clayton. Yeah, but
Yeah,
they've also opened
yeah,
up a
nice.
recent Scoresby gym as well. Which have you
I
seen that
saw
one
that.
yet?
I've seen bits and pieces. I haven't been there myself, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
You've been there a couple of times?
Once I got myself down there because I live in Hawthorne, so it's like
Or was it
just that
fair
extra
way?
bit away. Yeah,
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 yeah. Fair, fair.
yeah,
I'm trying to think who else is down there. Leroy's down there from Clayton.
yeah.
Leroy
So he,
McLean.
yeah, he's based
Yeah,
in Clayton Gym. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I believe
And
Scoresby too. I think.
Scoresby as well.
I think.
Assuming that he works at Rise as well.
Yeah, I think he might be a bit in the Scoresby gym, sometimes a little bit too.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to think who else. Maybe Steph. Do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
talk Steph?
she's a bit good. Was
Yeah.
Steph who?
Receptionist.
Yeah, no, she's at Burwood.
Burwood. Right.
Yeah.
Just Burwood. Fair enough. Yeah, I love training day. Like I've been there myself for similar to you, like 6 months, ever
Mm,
since mid year.
yeah.
And like you said, like it's just that community and culture that really draws me in. Like I don't even live near Burwood. I live in
Oh,
Vermont.
really?
Yeah. But I just wanted to
Ah,
have that community and cultural aspect, which is like a big drawing for a lot of people. So
I think it's huge nowadays. Like, unfortunately, like the standard service of anything isn't enough. Like, people want to feel like they're a part of something. People want to feel
mm,
like
something
up
bigger.
yeah, it's something bigger, and they want to feel inspired and motivated when they step in the doors rather than just like a normal service, whether it be a gym, your own PT, like whatever it is. Like people really want to connect also to the values of the company, I think,
Yeah.
and like whether it be the values of the company or the values of the PT or the values of this, like people aren't just putting their
Mm.
money anywhere nowadays. They really want to like put it into something that they also resonate with too.
Yeah, something that aligns with them on a deeper level.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
nice, nice. But yeah, what's your coming back to your three different clientele? How does that fit into your like day to day life? Like, what's your day to day like? Obviously, pretty busy, I imagine.
Yeah, so I think like busy's an interesting word because I don't feel busy. Like I think when
Right.
you're
Okay.
running on, I feel like when you're running on passion, you just get this extra energy out of nowhere. Like I don't know, I don't really feel like I'm busy and I've got so much going. Obviously, some days I do. I'm like, holy crap, what am I doing? Like but it's manageable and um so I have like 3 big days in the gym at Clayton. So they're pretty much like full of clients. I do a couple of classes there too. And then 2 days a week I'll be out of the space in Hawthorne. And
Yeah.
then where needed, I will fill like client calls in the gaps, my online clients. I do weekly check-ins for my clients. My Mondays are a day off the big gym days, so that's when I'm responding to clients, messaging them, going through their check-in forms.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, things like that. Saturday, Sunday, typically slower days. I know there can be a lot of like controversy, like if you work for yourself, like no days off. But I think like that's kind of where I have my time, my downtime is more the day
Mm.
weekend. And I think you can burn out doing what you love. So I think it's really
Yeah.
important to make sure you've got time away, do like pouring in back into your cup, filling yourself back up. Because as you know, as a service provider, like we give all day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure by the title of your podcast too, you're an introvert as well. So I'm sure
All my coins are taken after the end of the day. Have you heard of
what?
that? Like, it's like when you're an introvert, you have a certain amount of coins at the start of the
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
and then end of the day, like you lose all the coins when the extrovert takes the coins. I don't
yeah,
think I've
yeah,
ever heard of that before. Yeah.
yeah. No, I've definitely heard of that. It's like you just feel like depleted, and while it's like
Yeah.
not a bad thing, it's like just give, and I need that back, that time back for myself to
Mm.
recharge and come back to me, and then so I can go again.
Yeah.
Um, so weekends are a really good time for that. I really try and like have boundaries with not messaging clients, not this, not
Yeah.
that. And I know, yeah, there's a bit of controversy around that in the media, in this industry of like
Yeah.
no days off and your client should
Grind.
be able, yeah, grind and your client should
Yeah.
be able to access you 24/7, but I disagree. My clients get more out of me if I've had a bit of a weekend off, and it also gives them a bit of autonomy too. Like
Mm.
they have a question, for example, on a Friday night, but they don't answer. I don't get to answer it until Monday. It's like they get to use their own brain
Yep.
and come up with a
Yeah.
solution rather than me being quickly like, "Oh, this is what you got to do." Where it could just be something as simple as like, "Oh, should I do upper body or lower body today at the gym?" For I don't know,
Yeah.
dumb question, but like, let's just go with it. And then like on the Monday, I could be like, "Oh, how'd you go? Did you do upper or lower?" And it's like they can use their brain, they can use
Yeah.
that example, and it's like, okay, if they didn't make the best choice in that situation, it's like, okay, because I don't want to hold people's hand and I don't want them to ever have to like feel like they need me in their life. I want to like be able to give people the tools so that one day they actually might graduate from working with me and they're like, I've actually learned everything I need to know from you. I'm self-sufficient. Thanks so much. See you later. Like
Mm.
perfect. Like I would rather not have to spoon feed all the time and like people feel like they need me to answer every single minuscule question, and
Yeah.
education is
Yeah.
what I'm really big on too. I want to give the power back to my clients and the people and so that they can make informed choices and educated choices as well.
Yeah. Self empowerment. That's such a huge like I guess aim for like a PT or a service provider. Um,
100%.
yeah, because I feel like PTs and physios, maybe in general, like because we're service dominant and that's how I guess we earn our pay. We always like try to be or get them to be reliant on us. But at the end of the day,
Mhm.
like you want to give them the tools to ultimately, if they do, as you said, graduate, then they're set for life.
Yeah. It's
So
like
it's
a
huge.
physio, a perfect example of a physio. You don't want to, like, from a business perspective, sure, you want to see them forever. But from like a ethics and human and like perspective, like, you don't want to have to see a physio. I mean, case by case, of course, but if it's an acute injury, you don't want to have to see someone forever. You want them to be like, oh, I'm actually good now. Thanks so much. See you later.
Yeah, yeah. It's a fine boundary, but it's definitely, I guess, the right approach in that scenario. Have you
For sure.
always had that boundary in terms of like work-life balance, or is that something that you kind of garnered over time?
Honestly, I'm still working on it, if I'm going to be completely
Yeah,
honest with you. Like, it's times where I still like do work on weekends, and it's not like I'm fully like no work on weekends. Like, I think I definitely will do what needs to be done on weekends, and like if it's a bit of computer work or if it's a bit of like client programming that needs to be done that wasn't done over the week, like I will obviously get it done. I do try and have like boundaries with like when I'm contacting clients. Like, I try not to do it like right early in the morning or right late at night, like, because then I won't switch off and then I won't,
yeah,
and things like that. But I'm still constantly working on it. I feel still like I'm still learning what works best and where to like pull my energy back in and like, okay, try and be a little bit more like not 50 places at once and scattered, and try and like streamline things a bit more.
trying to focus all your energy into one spot.
Yeah, at a time, because I'm good at multitasking, but sometimes multitasking isn't the you don't get the most out of it or your task if you're like
Yeah,
not fully present with it.
yeah. Not your best version that you can present
Mm,
yourself with.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you like to do, like in your downtime? A bit more of a personal question, but we can roll with it.
Mm. I was talking
What's
about
some
this
hobbies?
morning actually with a coach that of mine. She was like, we were talking about our goals for the year or the quarter,
Yeah,
and I
right.
was telling her my goals, and they were all like career related goals, and she was like, "Okay, these are great. What about some Brit goals?" And I was like, "Ah,
Yeah,
hmm. Let me think." So, what do I do on my downtime? I love the beach, so the beach really fills me back up. So I love swimming at the beach in the water.
yeah.
Um,
Perfect
what else?
timing. Summer.
Yeah, yeah. I might try and head down there today. It's such a nice day here.
Mm.
What else do I like to do? I'm on my running journey at the moment, so
I did see that. How's that going?
yeah, it's very fresh.
Yeah.
Catch the 21K.
You're doing a half marathon.
Yeah, in October.
Ooh, crazy. That's gonna be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. The most I've ever done is 8Ks, and that was when I
Yeah.
was probably like 16.
Yeah.
I've gotten close to that though. I've done like a 6 before, but I haven't done much more than that. So I'm excited to push and see where I can take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that at a event or just
Yeah,
like on your own?
yeah. So going to enter the Nike Melbourne half one in October.
Right. Yeah. So that was pretty recent, wasn't it? October. So next year as well. Yeah.
Got a bit of time. Yeah, I got time.
Yeah. Got 9 months.
Yeah.
What's your plan of attack, you reckon?
I've downloaded this great app called Runner, RUNNA, and it kind of makes a plan for you. So I'm just following that.
Right.
I'm doing initially to 10K first.
Yeah.
And then once I've successfully done 10, I'll like transition over to the 21K program, which is like a mix of long runs, easy runs,
Yeah.
interval, tempo, speed. So bit of everything.
Yeah. Running's hard, like, especially the
Mm,
long runs. Do you find
yeah.
it similar?
What are your
Yeah.
tips?
My tips.
Yeah.
Blast some music.
Yeah.
Demons do get really loud in the long runs. So I don't know, music always helps me to block
Yeah.
them out. And just trying to run like different places. I get kind of
Yeah.
bored with the usual scenery, so I need to change it up.
Yeah. Do you have any running goals for this year?
Um, no, not really. Like I did a half marathon last year, and
Cool.
obviously the next, logical step would be a full marathon.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm that keen on doing a full marathon.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's
It's gonna be a
a
lot.
bit of a mental. It's more mental than physical, I reckon. Like
Well,
running
that's
long
it.
distances.
Especially when you're back at uni and all the things.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll have to see where it goes. But I'm trying to like you know get a better 2K time if that counts as a running goal.
That's a
Something
goal.
shorter. something a
Yeah.
bit shorter, not as long as a half marathon or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The
I
speed.
want to touch on. I know you're a weapon in this field, like women's health and all that. So I want to touch on that. In particular, I know it can be a taboo topic, but I don't feel like it should be because obviously, as coaches and people who train, we need to be aware of that in order to better service our clients. And if people are listening to this and wanting to implement some practical tips in our own training, it's also good to understand and how to base our training off that. So I want to touch on, yeah, like the menstrual cycle and how it might impact our training and I guess factors that we need to consider to optimize our
Mm,
training, so to speak.
yeah, cool. And I think it's becoming a little bit more normalized, if that's the right word,
Yeah.
nowadays, which is great. And I think, yeah, it can be, it still does have a little bit of a stigma around it, but like you
Mm.
said, it's very natural. Like I think the population is 51% female or something, so everyone's
Yeah.
got a mum or a sister or is going to have a daughter. So it's really, really important to like dissolve the shame
100%.
around it too. And that's a lot of what I try and do with clients as well. Is try and dissolve the shame because it can be really like hush hush, keep it a secret. We don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Things like that. So yeah, thank you for letting me chat about it and bring it to light. So I think the biggest thing that I see a lot online, because it is becoming a lot more like, again, normalized and common and almost a bit trendy, especially in like the online social media space, about syncing workouts around your cycle and all the things. And like there's a lot of things that are like cut and dry. This is what you must do around
Mm.
this time you
Yeah.
must do this time you must rest, and like things like that. And
Yeah.
I think I don't personally take that approach. I know I used to think like, oh, I mustn't do this around this time because of this, but it's more about listening to your own body and almost just being aware of what could happen. And if
Yeah.
you're seeing those effects in your training, it's like, oh, that makes sense because of this, or
Yeah.
that makes sense because of this. What can I do to help support myself during that time? Rather
Yeah.
than assuming, oh, I'm on my period, I can't go to the gym, which a lot of people
Yeah.
do. Even if they don't have any pain, even if they don't have any symptoms, they're just like, oh, no,
Mm.
it's a write off.
Mm.
So yeah, I think the biggest thing or the biggest time or difference that people start to notice, like in their training, whether it's lifts or runs or whatever, is like in that second half of your cycle. So they do say there's technically like 4 phases, but I
Mm.
like to go mainly by 2 halves. So
Right.
you've got pre-ovulation and post-ovulation. So post-ovulation is typically when we start to see most of those changes, um, or those symptoms. So they say the female body is most similar to a male's in the first half,
Yeah.
right before ovulation. So we can get up every single day, feel the same. I mean, obviously, males don't always feel the same. There's always stuff going on with you guys as well. But typically, like your energy is most peaked in the morning, testosterone is highest in the morning, things like that. Like we typically feel the same around that time too. It's almost like Energizer Bunny vibes as that estrogen is rising in that first half of the cycle. So
Yeah.
yeah, once you hit ovulation, that's that middle of the cycle, you can feel really like energized, buzzed, social, outward, all the things. And then estrogen starts to drop in
Right.
that second half of the cycle. And progesterone is supposed to increase. Keyword is supposed to. It doesn't for a lot of women, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that is when we start to see a little bit of a difference in performance, or can see a difference in performance, mood, yeah, anxiety, depression, things like that, because either one, the hormones aren't super balanced and they've got more estrogen than they're supposed to at that time and it hasn't dropped off after
Yeah.
ovulation, or they have that progesterone that's nice and high that we want, which can have like more of a calming effect. You might be hungry around this time because progesterone actually speeds up your metabolism.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, I have a lot of clients that are like, I can't stop eating today. And I'm like, okay, where are you at in your cycle? And they'll tell me, and I'll be like, makes sense. Let it happen. Eat the food. They typically say around like 100 to 300 more calories around that time, like right before your period,
Mm.
is okay because your body just churns through so much more food. Um, So yeah, I think it's just listening to your body and like understanding the natural fluctuations and not necessarily assuming what's going to happen
Right.
or looking at
Yeah.
someone on Instagram that says you can only do yoga at this time or you can only run or do hit workouts at this time. While I wouldn't suggest if you've got hormones that are super out of balance to keep screwing up your hormones with really, really high intensity exercise,
Yeah.
especially around that second half of the cycle. um yeah, listening to your body is huge and like understanding what's happening so that you can sort of be aware but not
Mm.
necessarily limit yourself too, because I see so much out there that's like almost fear mongering, like don't do this because of this. And like I think I follow someone online who um promotes like there's not enough women doing physical activity full stop, and we're trying to tell them to not do physical activity for 2 halves for 2 weeks of the month, like, or a lot of like you'll see like social media influencers trying to tell you about cycle syncing, and
Yeah. Right.
they'd say just walks and just like gentle flow movement. And if that's all you feel like, great. But like you can still go to the gym, you can still lift heavy if you want to, as long as you're eating enough. Your recovery might be a bit off. Your sleep can be a little bit off around that second half of the cycle too. So it's
Yeah.
all things to be wary of, and like making sure that your recovery is on point. You're eating enough. You're trying to have that really good nighttime routine so that you're not um, undersleeping, which then can affect your training and
Yeah.
like all these things. So um, yeah, like I saw, yeah, there's not enough women engaging in physical activity in general. So don't let it scare you off. If anything, just use it as data and use it as like, oh, how am I feeling today? Oh, okay, I didn't hit the PB that I wanted. I wonder why that is. Or go into it knowing that you're in that phase. And yeah,
Yeah.
does that answer
Nah,
it?
I love that approach, like that really reactive, bottoms up approach, because you don't want to be black and white about things. Like, if you're
Mm,
feeling bad, a lot of people would tend to use that as a barrier to skip exercise. But I think in general, like you always want to exercise in some sort of capacity, and it's the same
absolutely.
here. I
And like
imagine. Yeah.
if you're up for it, like I'm sorry, if you're only up for doing like a walk or something gentle around that phase because you're cramping, you're not, whatever it might be, great, do that. But like don't let it be this is what I must do. And I wouldn't say I typically don't recommend super high intensity interval training for those who have got like adrenal fatigue or um their hormones are just out of whack, because while HIIT is great, it does spike your cortisol a little bit. And for someone that already might have super high cortisol levels, um, or out of balance hormones, because if I'm going to go into
Mm,
it even more, cortisol is a stress hormone, right? So
yeah.
the more cortisol that we have, it actually uses progesterone, that nice hormone that we wanted. It uses that to make more cortisol. So
Yeah.
your
Right.
progesterone levels can actually deplete if your stress is going up. So that's where we can see that imbalance of hormones. So I guess that could be why they say to reduce the hit, but I don't recommend much hit for people on a good day anyway. I kind of am
Yeah.
a strength trainer through and through,
Mm,
with sprinkles of cardio on top. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah. You mentioned a couple of like key hormones there. Do you want to elaborate on like their, I guess, their role during the cycle and different phases of the cycle and what's happening for the people
Yeah.
out there?
Yeah. So typically, where do you want me to start? Do you want me to start with the hormones?
Um, Whatever you feel is best for you.
Yeah, cool. So, um, where do I start? So, estrogen is like our main female dominant hormone that
Mhm.
is like if we're day one of our cycle, like bleed, for example, it's quite low. But
Yeah.
then as it goes on and on and on, it rises, and then it gets to ovulation, and then that is when like that egg is released and it's there. That's when you're
Yeah.
fertile as well. That's when the hormone is at its peak, and
Yeah.
this is like estrogen can get a bad rap because like if you have too much of it, it does cause problems, but like too much of anything causes problems really.
Yeah.
So yeah, honestly, it's a great hormone though. It suppresses your appetite, which is why you, as a female, probably less hungry during that time because you've, or
Right.
like especially in the middle of your cycle because you've
Mm.
got all this extra estrogen.
Yeah.
Um, but then when it drops off, you might get hungrier. So that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a mood booster as well, or it can be. It like activates your immune system. It's like involved in over 300 processes in the body. So yeah, while I can say, excess estrogen can be a bad thing, it's really not. And I mean, it can be, but the hormone itself is not a bad thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but there's estrogen, and then progesterone is the one that starts to come in after ovulation. So it only happens in response to ovulation as well. So
Right.
if a woman isn't ovulating, she won't make that progesterone, that really good hormone. It's got like an anti-inflammatory effect, anti-anxiety, and antidepressant effect as well. So it's really, really, really a good hormone that you want to have. It should go
Mm.
up in that second half. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's great, and it's like I'm just reading off a couple of things at the top of my
Yeah.
list, like with progesterone. It reduces inflammation, like I said, which is really, really important for a lot of
Mm.
period symptoms. Like if a lot of women have really negative period symptoms, like inflammation can be a big cause of that. So reducing
Right.
inflammation can
Yeah.
look like trying to increase progesterone as well. Um, it can calm your nervous system down. So a lot of women during this time feel that they're extra stressed, but like I said, that cortisol bites into that progesterone. So if we can reduce your
Yeah.
stress around this time and keep that
Right.
progesterone nice and high, really
Yeah.
good. Um, what else? It can, yeah, protect your cardiovascular system, stimulate your metabolic rate, like I said, so it increases your metabolism. We get
Yeah.
hungrier, things like that. But typically around this time, like you'll feel more tired, less energized, and honestly, the main symptom that's normal to be feeling around that time is a little bit like more chill, more
Yeah.
tired, and that's about it right before your period. But a lot of women suffer just drastic mood swings. And I say this lightly, and I say this to like with compassion, that not to
Mm.
discount that someone's not normal or that someone's like, I'm invalidating someone's experience, but we shouldn't be having these crazy fluctuations like if your hormones are where they ideally are. So yeah, but
Right.
again, too much of that is a bad thing too of progesterone. Like, um, yeah, there's goods and bads to everything as well there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well explained. I just want to touch on like obviously the symptoms that might occur during the cycle, like you mentioned, like loss of appetite or
Mm,
maybe mood as well. How would you, I guess, take that into consideration in order to still train effectively and maybe like push someone towards their goals?
yeah, so I guess in the second half of the cycle, especially if my clients have a natural cycle, if they're on birth control, it probably doesn't, they don't feel the effects as much. But
Yeah.
basically, I would typically say to clients, like, eat more food in the second half of your cycle. You're going to be hungrier.
Mm.
Making sure that, yeah, your sleep's on point, like I said, and more protein as well.
Yeah.
Making sure your protein is potentially more up there during that time because, as we know, protein makes you fuller for longer. So it's really going to help herb that extra hunger that you've got,
Yeah.
and get those extra calories in as well. What else would I say to do? I'd say, hmm,
Is the extra calories that you eat, is that offsetted by what's happening during the cycle? Is that why you want to, I guess, compensate, quote unquote?
yeah, well, like I mentioned, the progesterone speeds up your metabolism a little bit.
Mm. Yeah.
So that happens, and that can be why you've got that extra hunger. And I guess if you're eating that little bit more, and honestly, I don't know this enough in a sense of like a bodybuilding lens, that if like if you are doing a cut or if you are doing a bulk or like whatever, and it's got to be really down to the T of the calories, I don't know how much that would affect it. I've
Yeah.
never taken someone through prep work like that. So
Mm.
honestly, though, if your metabolism is sped up, it does make more sense that you like burn through that quicker anyway. So
Yeah.
I would prefer to have the more food anyway to curb those hunger cravings, because if we know about the hunger scale, if you're leaving yourself where you're empty on food, like you're at a starving like 10 out of 10,
Yeah.
you're more likely, or a 0 out of 10, whatever it might be, you're more likely to overeat and binge later. So I'd rather like just increase, like have an extra snack for the day if we are tracking calories or something.
Yeah.
If it is something they notice, I'm not going to force it on them if they find that they don't, or like to enhance performance if they're finding that they're dropping off significant PBs or whatever, like they just can't hit in the gym, they've got no energy, they've, especially around that second half, that's when I would say like, oh, let's try eating a bit more. Let's try making
Yeah.
your meals a bit bigger. But I wouldn't force it on someone unless that's how they are presenting with their symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Love that. What about training? Is there like anything that you might want to look out for? I guess the variables that us coaches would monitor. Is there something in that we need to watch out during this cycle, or is it more just again how you feel coming into it?
I'd say like, yeah, that if you know yourself and you know during that second half of the cycle that you are like, it's just a slower day normally, you're not going to hit the weights that you normally could, like then just like
Yeah.
accepting that that's normal for your body, and
Mm.
to try and remove the shame and guilt and the spiral of like, I'm going backwards in strength, what's wrong with me. I've had that with clients before too, and they're like, I can't lift this, like, oh, I'm like 20 kilos down on my hack squat or something like that, and I'm like, okay, where are we at in our cycle, for one? And then they'll say 9 times out of 10, like 3 days out from my period or 5 days out or something. And it can be a routine thing that they see. Um, and so we typically, if they're already showing signs of like their training is taking a bit of a hit, then we just
Mm.
expect less. Or I just tell them to have a deload week, or that's when I plan like their deload week, around that week as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, like really taking it session by session, and obviously not putting like a, I don't know, like a blanket rule that you have to hit this on this day. That's seeing where they're at when they come in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Nice, nice. I want to move on to, I guess, I know this podcast is listened to by males as well. Like, what do you think we could do to help with, the people that we have in our lives, like females, mums, partners, and all that? How can we help support their physical activity and whatnot?
Mm. In what sense? Like during
Um,
during the like
yeah,
related hormones, or just in general?
yeah. In general, we can touch on like the cycle as well.
Mm. I think there can be the whole thing of like just removing the negativity around the cycle. And I know it can be present in like a male, for example, with a female, and they're like, oh, she's just on her period. Like if she's a bit cranky or whatever, like
Yeah,
she's in a mood, but they're just automatically will say that. And like that
yeah,
just removing things like that is a good start rather than adding things in. I always say like remove before you start to add stuff in. So yeah, that like, and you don't have to know the fully ins and outs of and the scientifical, and you don't have to take notes on this podcast with the hormone names and what happens like necessarily. It's more just like being understanding and understanding that our bodies can work a little bit differently. So if someone is a little bit more tired, or um, just coming in with compassion and care, and obviously like it can be hard because you don't want to like act as if you know or act as if you understand, because you don't want to like step on anyone's toes, I'm sure, as a
yeah.
male, and be like, oh, I fully get it, because like
You don't.
in reality you won't. And
Yeah,
then like that's fine though.
yeah,
But I think like if it's a partner or mum and you notice that they are a bit fatigued, or if it's training wise, like Typically, maybe if you're a coach in the gym that doesn't load the weights on the bar for your client and you notice they're having a slower day, like little things, just like making sure that you're helping load the bar, offload the bar, um, giving someone, I don't know, it's just like customer care too. Like whether or not someone's a female or male or not and they're having a rough day, you can like positive re-encouragement, like, oh hey, that's okay, like whether you're male or not, again, like everyone's going to have a shit day, everyone's going to have a rough day in the gym
Mm.
sometimes, like no matter who you are. So it's just positive reinforcement. They're like, hey, this is normal. Like, not every day is going to be a PB day. Not every day is going to be a great session in the gym, but like you came, you moved your body. And yeah, if particular, like a client is having resistance to coming in because of symptoms, like if they need to take the day off,
Yeah.
cool. I try not to force them in if they really don't want to come in.
Yeah. Right.
Um,
Okay.
it depends. Like it really depends. Like I tell them to listen to their body, and I've tried a
Mm.
few times in the past before to ask clients like, hey, like, do you think you could come in, or do you think like you just it's telling yourself you're not?
Yeah.
Um,
It's a
and
fine
some
line.
yeah, well, a lot of cultures as well, which is something I've really learnt is, especially I think Indian culture, they take like the week off everything, especially exercise, and that's just
Oh,
what they've
really?
always,
Wow.
yeah, that's just what they've
Yeah.
always customarily done. So I've tried to like switch a few views on clients saying like you actually can come in and train, and like 9 times out of 10 as well, a bit of gentle movement if you are in a bit of pain or do present with symptoms can help. Or like just going lighter on the weights or whatever if you are experiencing discomfort and pain to a degree, of
Yeah.
course. Like if you're in agonizing pain, you can't, you got to do what you got to do. But just trying to flip their mindset of like, okay, do we think that we just can't because that's what we've always known, and or is it something that you actually probably could come in for, have a lighter session, but still come in, still tick the box, and still show up for yourself in that way.
Yeah. The old adage, modify, don't miss.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's like another thing I do with clients as well. Like I don't know if they've got like pelvic pain or something, and a squat, for example, isn't going to do it that day. Like let's do something else instead.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what would, let's say like you mentioned there pelvic pain. Like, how would you go about navigating some common, I guess, symptoms in the
Um,
gym?
I haven't had it too much to deal with, to be honest. Like sometimes, like really, really big, heavy lifts, especially early on in the period, isn't like super fun, and you
Yeah.
kind of. And I typically honestly avoid the gym day one, especially. I'm just like not a vibe. Would rather just go for a walk.
Is that more like a mental thing, or is that more because the symptoms that are happening during that first day?
It depends.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, if it's a symptoms thing, then um, if it's a symptoms thing, then yeah, definitely. But also sometimes, like because the symptoms are low, you just want to be more inward, and you don't really
Mm.
feel like hustling and grinding and like doing all these really cool things, like big, massive things in the gym. Like just switch your training around for the week, even like if that's what you want to do. Like it's yeah, I really toy between the two. Like you need to stick to the plan, you need to like show up no matter what, and
Yeah.
listen to your body, and like if your body's calling for it, an inward day and like just a walk, then
Yeah.
so be it. Like it's a really fine line, but I tend to take that approach of like not black or white.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't go wrong with a hot girl work.
Yeah. That's it. That is it. Yeah. But like regarding the exercise with the pelvic pain, I don't know, like I've coached a lot of mums as well, and pelvic
Yeah.
floor dysfunction is really, really common. So it's just teaching them how to use their core properly and how to engage their pelvic floor as well, especially when they do something like squats or even I've had a client with PCOS, which we were doing the hack squat, and she was like, "Oh no,
Mm.
that hurts my pelvic area," and I was like, "Oh okay," and I taught her how to switch her pelvic floor on, and we had no issues. She was like, "Oh, that's so much better."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
things like that. But if a client's in like because honestly, some women have symptoms that are so bad that they can't get off the couch. And if, in that sense,
Yeah,
I'm not
wow.
going to
Yeah.
expect someone to come in and train
Mm,
in the gym with heavy lifting weights because it's just not the vibe.
mm.
Um, so, but sometimes your body is also just like calling out for rest, reflect, go inward, just chill, have that reset day. Cool, off again.
Yeah. So really just trying to take stock of how you're feeling and again listen to your body and
Yeah.
making a decision from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice, nice.
Mm.
Um, I want to talk about a couple of different conditions,
Mm.
if that's maybe in your wheelhouse, like
Mm.
PCOS and then endo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how would you go about, I guess, navigating that scenario? And you
Mm.
want to explain what those two are? I feel like those two are the main ones that you might see.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the main two. So polycystic ovarian syndrome is a cluster of symptoms essentially. So there's like a criteria of three, and if you meet two of them, doctors will typically diagnose you with PCOS.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, and it's not. It doesn't look the same in everyone. They can have different symptoms, but it's like yeah, a cluster of symptoms, and typically it's around insulin resistance and yeah, having that insulin resistance. But there's actually four different types of PCOS as well, which
Wow.
can yeah,
Okay.
yeah, can throw a spanner in the works. So the most common one is insulin resistant PCOS, so where it can have like a similar effect as not a similar effect, but like similar physiology as diabetes does, like with the insulin
Okay.
resistant kind of thing. So yeah, a lot of the same medications that people use for diabetes can get prescribed for PCOS too.
Hmm.
Um, so there's that one. There's post pill PCOS, where if someone's come off the pill and their hormones go haywire, it can turn into PCOS, and that can be one of them. One of the
Yeah.
types, I should say. The next one I think is adrenal PCOS, so driven by those those adrenals and those like cortisol hormones, and like your adrenals are out of whack.
Hmm.
And it's like a process of elimination too to work out which one you think that you would have.
Right.
Um, what's the last one? I just have to inflammatory PCOS. So chronic
Yeah.
inflammation can cause the ovaries to make excess testosterone, and as a female, we don't want too much testosterone
Yeah.
inside of us. So that can be a big driver for yeah the adrenals as well as the testosterone and the cortisol levels and things like that. So
Hmm.
typically, a lot of HIIT stuff isn't super recommended for endo and PCOS. It's a lot of slow weighted workouts, long walks, things like that to not spike like those cortisol levels too much.
The stress that
Yeah,
hit.
the stress
Right. Okay.
hormone. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like depending on what type someone might have, there's different approaches to that too, which I won't necessarily go into because we could be here all day. um, but yeah, there's different approaches to different things. And then, yeah, it's honestly the main thing I want to say though, it's more common than people think for women to have these conditions. And if I've learned anything from especially working in a general population gym like
Mm.
training day, for example, so common.
Really?
So,
How
so,
come we were talking?
uh, not even just PCOS, just but like hormonal conditions in general, like
Yeah.
one in like they say one in 10, I think, for endo, and one in like
Yeah.
I could be butchering it, one in like four, five, or six for PCOS. Like it's a bit more common.
Yeah.
Um, but from my own understanding, like yeah, a lot of females unfortunately have this, and I don't want to sit here and necessarily say you can undo it or fix it, but there are definitely ways to help manage it. And people
Mm.
have fallen pregnant after doing some lifestyle changes if they couldn't before. And like a lot of it is stress related. So if you sort out your stress, you can sort out the imbalance of hormones and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to
But
explain what endo is as a condition?
yeah, so endometriosis is where uterus tissue grows outside of the uterus. So it grows on other organs. So it can affect, like,
Yeah.
it can grow on your bowels, like your tubes, like a lot of different things. And it can be really, really, really painful.
Right.
And they can just get really, really heavy periods and painful and just like, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
fun. So
Yeah.
when they get their cycle, it's typically not fun. And it
Mm.
can be really, really, like I said, inflammatory and inflammatory driven as well.
Right. Okay. So how do you
Mm.
manage that? Like with the pain and going through the cycle?
Yeah, a lot of people typically who have been diagnosed with endo are already seeking a bit of treatment through the medical system, whether it's like they're on some kind of birth control, because yeah, endometriosis is typically, when we see endo, typically we see high levels of estrogen. Not that it's
Hmm.
caused by excess estrogen, but it can be a symptom of it as well. So
Yeah.
I typically try and just help clients get their inflammation down. So whether it be dietary interventions, suggestions, reducing stress levels, um, things like that, like make sure they're doing like lots of mindfulness practices, and like saunas are great for reducing inflammation, like things like that,
Mm.
walks, all the things. Yeah, and like trying to help with that estrogen dominance, if it is estrogen dominance as well, and trying to help get
Yeah.
their, yeah, it's like everything can be affected, like their mental health can be affected, their mood, their energy, their immune system, like so much can be affected in endo as well.
Yeah. Are there any contra indications, like things that you need to avoid in gym?
It's person to person. Like, for example, I've got one client and she's seen a pelvic floor physio, and like I would definitely not rather be the only practitioner working with the client. If someone
Yeah.
did have this condition, I'd rather be part of the team. So
Yeah.
just so we can have like another opinion. But for example, one of my clients, her pelvic floor physio has recommended not too much core stuff because it can
Okay.
just like aggravate her a lot. What else? Like hit exercise sometimes is a bit of a no for some people.
Hmm.
Again, like some people it might be fine, but some people might just like it might flare things up. It might yeah, it might flare things up or it might not. So it's
Right.
person to person, but contraindications, hmm, not
Probably person to person,
necessarily.
really.
Person to person, and it's
Yeah.
depending on their symptoms, and yeah, like everyone's so different.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. When you say like core exercises, like would heavy bracing in like a, let's say like a deadlift or a squat, would that come under that category?
Good question. I think it's more isolated core stuff. So
Right.
we've done with one of my clients squats before, and I taught her how to brace properly and engage her
Mm.
core. A lot of people when they first squat, they don't know how to do that. So
Yeah.
I said to her as well, if this like flares you up, let me know. And if this is like a hard no, we'll just reduce the weight and stuff like that
Right.
and not go super heavy. I haven't tried deadlifts with her though yet, but it could be interesting to see. And I think honestly, a lot of people do find that exercise helps manage a lot of conditions and helps manage a lot of symptoms and stuff too. I know I was just saying like hit is bad, but like good strength training and like can really, really help. And I know a lot of clients find that because exercise can reduce inflammation, as we know. So
Mm.
making sure that exercise is part of the treatment plan can some clients have shown that it can help as well, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Nice. Again,
Mm.
it's like so contextual. Like everyone's so different, and again, you have to
Mm.
take stock and see how you're feeling and make
That's it.
adjustments as you go along.
That's it.
We interrupt this podcast with a little announcement. Unfortunately, the next 5 to 10 seconds of the episode is a little bit muffled. So, in order to fill in the gap, I essentially asked Brittany to label 3 to 4 key points that people can take away and apply to their own training. That is all. Hopefully, you guys get back into it and enjoy the rest of the episode. Take care.
3 to 4 points.
Maybe more if you need. I just gave
Yeah.
it a random number.
Sum up. Okay.
Yeah.
Number one, track your cycle.
Yeah.
Even if you are on hormonal birth control or not, just start to take note of it and start to see the patterns, because you'll have your own patterns that come up different times of the month, and you can be like, oh, okay, I'm feeling this way because of this way. What can I do to help support myself during this time? Rather than getting really, really frustrated with yourself and your body and being like, why do I feel this way? This is so stupid. Like, I've had so many conversations with clients or people or friends that have just come to me and said, like, oh my God, why do I feel this way? It's so dumb. I'm so hungry today. I could eat a
Mm.
horse. And it's like, if we just, yeah, this information is so important for that. So track your cycle and start to get to know it. Um,
Yeah.
Number two, what would I say?
I like that point that you made, because like we try to associate what we're feeling to something, I guess, relatively tangible. So
Yeah,
if we don't know something, we go in like a spiral of force. But if we know why it's happening, it definitely calms the mind a lot. So I
yeah,
think
and
that's
it's
a
just
great
bringing in
point.
that self compassion too, like for your body and yourself, and like maybe if it is really really extreme symptoms or whatever, like it can, yeah, it's just having compassion for your body that and for what it's going through.
Yeah.
Because it can be really easy to feel like you're broken or your body's like not working properly or not working as it should, but it's doing the best with what it can, and it just might take a few lifestyle interventions to help clean that up, or the right practitioner, be it myself or be someone else that's like a pelvic floor physio or something like that, that might be able to help guide you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Number two, eat enough food. I didn't say this, but like eat enough food in general.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, particularly if you are in the second half of your phase and you feel extra hungry. I just think food is so important if we're talking about like the menstrual cycle as well. Obviously, females are the only ones that biologically get it. Um, it can be toyed with a lot of under eating for a lot of females as well. So for a
Mm.
healthy cycle, you want to be eating enough, because if you are not eating enough and over exercising as well, you can actually lose your period, which is called amenorrhea, and that's not super healthy, because
Yeah.
while if you lose your period, yes, you can't necessarily fall pregnant, or most likely can't. Ovulation is a really important part of female fertility, whether you want to fall pregnant or not. So making sure that you're eating enough um, is really important too.
Mm.
Mm,
And I imagine that the foods that you eat is very much aligned to general good nutrition.
yeah, don't just eat,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
packet of twisties every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Healthy fats are really good. Protein's good, of course. Don't steer clear of your carbs, but like especially if you do have something like PCOS with the insulin resistance thing, not cutting out carbs, but reducing carbs can be good, or at least having carbs with a really good source of protein.
Yeah.
Really important for that insulin resistant gal.
Yeah.
One more.
Three's a good number. End with a
Yeah,
bang.
yeah, three. I'd say if you feel like something's wrong in your body or something's a bit off, listen to it and you know it in yourself and go and seek help. And if someone's, I've had a lot of clients who doctors have gaslighted them a little bit, or
Mm.
just told them that it's normal, or like their horrible symptoms are normal, or just tried to,
And
yeah,
brush it
just,
over.
yeah, not tell them not to worry about it. When you know your
Mm.
body, you know if you've had a significant change in your body or your cycle, and you're like, oh my gosh, I never used to experience this. Like that's doesn't happen for no reason. So I would say listen to your gut, listen to your body, seek a second, third, fourth opinion if you need to.
Yeah.
And like I've had clients, for example, that she used to have really debilitating periods and couldn't get out of bed, had to take so many days off work all the time, every time it would come around. And now they're seamless and she barely knows that they're there, just after some interventions we've put in together and working together. And honestly, it wasn't even a massive goal of ours. Like, she didn't come to me because her periods were messed up. She came to me because she wanted to work on her fitness, and I just typically ask my clients, like, generally, what are your periods like, just so I know. Um, and she told me what they were like, and I gave her some loose recommendations on what to do, and she implemented them. And like 4 months later, I randomly asked her again. I was like, "Oh, actually, by the way, how are they now?" Like, just out of
Mm.
curiosity. She was like, 10 out of 10. Like,
Oh,
they've improved so much. And I was like,
yeah.
cool. Because, like, I don't know, it's little things like that as a coach that really fill me up, for example, because it's like
Mm.
that is days off someone's life if they keep taking time off work or they're in excruciating pain on the couch. Like, to give someone a whole day back.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah,
It's like
huge.
significant progress. You're doing cartwheels inside.
Literally,
I
I
imagine.
was just like
Keep
giddy.
it
I was
cool.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. Love that.
Yeah.
Again, like it's always good to seek external help. Like, who would you go to if people were experiencing these like abnormal or out of the ordinary symptoms?
Mm. I can't not help but say try your doctor first, and
Yeah.
particularly a female doctor, or if they're listed and they say that they understand women's health and things like that. I know
Mm.
sometimes when you're picking a doctor, they do specialize or they do like have areas of expertise. So try and pick someone that you know could understand what you're going through. And if they're no help, there's a lot of holistic type people or alternative practices. Um, yeah, I think a one way approach isn't always the best. Like maybe someone that can help you in a few different ways would be good,
Mm. Yeah.
whether it's myself or a naturopath or like a functional Chinese medicine doctor or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can pump yourself up. It's all
Yeah, pop me up. Come see me.
right. Go to Brit.
I don't
Everyone
know.
go to Brit.
I don't want to say like claim just yet that like I'll help fix your cycles and things. It's more just like that. It's a byproduct
Mm.
of it. But then if it happens time and time and time and time and time again with clients, and I just keep seeing it like transpire and happen, I'm like, okay, maybe this is like, yeah, I do this for people and I help people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Just to finish up on a
Mm,
more personal note, I want to
mm,
talk about, I guess, what's next for Brit. We can talk about your goals if you want to share
mm.
them for
Yeah.
2024.
Okay. I was literally talking about this morning with my own mentor.
Mm.
Um,
Half marathon's one of them. We talked about
yeah,
that.
Mara, half Mara. I wrote them down. I want to run more events. I'm loving the event space, so I'm actually running an event um, at the Feel Good Hood in about a month. So
Nice.
that'll be with some family friends of mine who are qigong practitioners. So it's going to be really like wellnessy, holistic type vibe. That's sort of the path I see myself going down a little bit more. So yeah, they are qigong practitioners, which is like a form of movement like Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates, that kind of style of movement. And we're going to be talking about setting New Year's intentions, and like they know a lot about like Chinese New Year and things like that. So
Yeah.
this year is about abundance and things like that. So that's an event that we'll be running. If it sounds something up your alley, there'll be like a guided meditation and things like that. That'll be on the 3rd of Feb, 2:30 till 6 p.m.
Mhm.
in Hawthorn, so at the Feel Good Hood. So yeah, we'll have tickets available for that. The first 10, I haven't even properly released this yet, but some clients behind the scenes are moving into the event. So yeah, the first 10 get early bird discount on the ticket. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Nice.
Yeah. I'd love to help facilitate a retreat this year.
Retreat. Taking the next
Mm,
step. Because I know you've
yeah.
done a couple of in-person events in
Yeah.
2023. Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to be part of an event, or sorry, a retreat where it's like just empowerment, like a transformative, like few days, you walk in one person, you walk out the other. Like I would love that, like group connection, group activities, like connection. Like I really love that stuff. So
Mm.
um would love to facilitate an event, whether it's my own that I run, retreat, whether it's my own or I help out a company run
Yeah.
and I'm like a guest for the retreat.
Yep.
I want to go to Bali this year. That's a goal, actually.
Is that more of a personal goal
Yeah,
that
that's
the coach
a
told you to write down?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to either do a retreat in Bali myself, like not run
Cool.
one, but go and do one. Um, and maybe even work over there for a little bit, depending on how online clients and in-person clients, like the balance is there.
Mm.
That's been a goal of mine for a while.
Yeah.
I'd love to do more education stuff too, to be honest with you, like step into more of that educator space and teaching space,
Nice.
running workshops, things like that. That's more where I see myself this year.
In the health and fitness space, when you talk about workshops and that.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Because what did you run last year for the people who might not be familiar?
Yeah, so I did a women's wellness catch up on the well, it was meant to be on the beach and it was meant to be a work because I've last year I had attended a lot of events that I really really loved where it was like connecting with strangers, meeting people, movement, like breath work or beach dips, like something like that. I went to a lot
Yeah.
of those last year and I really one found myself and two made a lot of good connections and like it's just a good way to spend your time with a lot of positive people. So um I ran a variation of my own but the weather was so bad. It was meant to be a workout, connection with other women, like questions and things and chatting, and then
Yeah.
um, an ocean dip. But yeah, the weather was so bad we had to relocate to a cafe and
Was that last minute?
yeah, like literally the
Wow.
thing started at 8 a.m. and I made the
Yeah.
decision
Right.
at like 8:01, like guys, pack it up, we're gonna go move to a cafe.
Executive decision.
Yeah, I had to make a quick decision there, but I had a backup plan because I knew the weather was shocking. So
Yeah. Nice.
we just did my backup plan. It was, yeah, connection with other women. I really find that I really like spaces where you can uplift people and like that community stuff we were talking about before, where
Mm.
you can connect with people on a bit of a deeper level. And it's not, I've also gone through my own journey of sobriety and not drinking.
Yeah. Nice.
So I wouldn't necessarily, or maybe I'm just afraid to call myself sober, but I haven't really drank properly in over a year now. But I had like sips of alcohol in the last couple of months. Like the last time I had a sip of alcohol might have been, I don't know,
Yeah.
September, August, something like that. Um, and so I really wanted to like work on myself last year and go to events where I wasn't just drinking on a Saturday night,
Mm.
Friday night. So I went to a lot of like Sunday morning dips, Sunday morning ice bath events, Sunday morning
Yeah.
like breathwork events. And I typically wouldn't have spent my Sundays like that in the past. Typically they would have been, dare I say, vomiting and
Hungover.
yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And it just got to a point in 2022 where I was just like, I can't keep living like this. So I just
Yeah.
stopped. And I mean, it's kind
Nice.
of like a rite of passage when you're in uni. I feel like you just do it and you party and you have fun. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I couldn't do it anymore. So I really wanted to find some other ways to meet up with people and have and hang out and talk to people and yeah.
Yeah. Now, kudos to you. Like, it's definitely a big, I guess, change and something that you're really, I know, aligned to.
Yeah, I feel so much better in myself for it too. Because anytime I'd have a
Mm.
drink, like the effects, or like have a big night, for example, the effects would just last like days, and then you just feel so
Takes a
shit.
weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like your mental health, my mental health just took a toll, and I would just be in such a
Yeah.
low feeling, like, and especially I knew like wanting to work for myself, like I couldn't keep doing that, and I couldn't keep putting myself constantly in that feeling, like, because then I just wouldn't get anything done, or I couldn't do my job properly.
Yeah.
Um, so it was a professional decision, but also mostly a personal decision as well,
Mm.
because I was just had enough of it.
Yeah. It's like a
Mm,
dominoes effect. Just trickles down to different
yeah.
parts of your life.
100%. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really plan on having another drink anytime soon. I haven't been like counting how many days I've been sober or whatever it is because yeah, I have had like a sip here and there, but not for a few months. I've intentionally
Yeah,
decided to not really drink at the moment, but
yeah.
yeah.
The dry club's where it's at.
Are you a dry person?
Um, Kind of like you. I have sips in that here and there,
Like a
but
beer?
I no, I hate a beer.
Oh, really?
I hate beers. Yeah,
Oh, there you
it'll
go.
be like a vodka raspberry if I had to have a drink.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't have beer. It just
yeah.
taste is number one for me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
disgusting. I don't get it.
yeah, I know.
It's like
Like
the most
all my
common
mates
drink.
drink it. Yeah,
I don't get it.
yeah. But nah, you're killing it. It's been from at least my point of view, like so cool to see your growth from where we first like got to know each other in the dust committee and
Mm.
now. So really keen to see what's in store for Brit. Where can people find you and your events and whatnot?
Yeah, so mostly I hang out on Instagram. So at Brittany Baylis at BritanyBaylis. That's
Yep.
underscore. That's my Instagram. I'm mostly on there, so come hang out. But I'd love to also know some of your goals this year. I know I'm being interviewed, but I'd love to know some
Oh,
of
here
your.
we go. How the turntables have turned.
I know.
My goals. Um,
I just love
Far
chatting
out.
about goals. Yeah,
I don't know, like personal or
whatever. Both.
whatever. Um, just be a bit more aware of my emotions. I know it
Mm,
sounds very vague.
no, that's good.
Yeah, because I feel like in previous years, or maybe in my life in general, I've been like just feeling and just doing without taking a
Mm,
step back and saying, why do I feel this way?
cool.
So that's going to be my main goal this year. I read a
Cool.
book, 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think, which brought me
Okay.
to that,
That was
I
good.
guess, perspective.
Yeah.
Have you read
I've
that
heard
book?
about it. No, I haven't read it, but I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, it's a good book. So that really, I guess, turned the light bulb moment for me. So that's
Wow.
number one.
Wow, that's so
Um,
cool.
yeah, so we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
So far so good. Like every time I'm feeling like angry or
Yeah.
emotional, I always come back to the question, oh, why am I feeling this way? And
Mm,
then knowing that really just like centers me and keeps me centered, I guess. So
yeah,
it's so far so good. So we'll see how
that's
we
really
go.
I think as well, like emotions like anger can get really demonized, but it's a human emotion and you're allowed to feel it and experience it. It's
Yeah,
when it becomes like your whole entire personality is when it's like a problem because then we don't also want to suppress the anger. We want to feel it, but yeah, we don't want it to consume and override your natural state either.
yeah, for sure. Like every emotion that you feel is completely natural.
Mm,
So rather than trying to ignore it, you want to acknowledge it.
yeah.
So
Cool.
that's my main focus, and I guess other personal ones. I'm not really like I want to do this by the end of the year sort of person. I just take it how it is, go
Yep.
with the wave. But
Yep.
yeah, that's my main one.
Cool. I really like that. And I like how that's a bit different or a bit more like feelings based, which is different and cool.
Yeah, something I haven't really touched on. So we'll see how we go. We'll see how
Mm,
we go.
cool.
But yeah, Britt, been a pleasure chatting. I know
Thank
I've learnt a heap. So I'll definitely myself, even though I'm the podcast host, I'm gonna watch it again.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, appreciate you coming along, having a chat, and we'll see you soon. But yeah,
Thanks so
enjoy,
much.
guys. Ciao.
Bye.